Hello yogis, welcome to Bend Over Backwards Yoga. Here we are in the headquarters of Bend Over Backwards Yoga here on Wesley Street in Nanaimo, BC. Today's practice is focusing on cardiac health, health of the heart. The heart is a fist-sized organ slightly to the left of your midline in your body, in your upper chest. And you might think of it as both a muscle and a pump. It's the pump that circulates the blood throughout the body. And it's a muscle, which means that it can be strengthened. And it also means that it can become weak. And I'm often reminded of Father Joe Pereira, who is a priest in the Catholic tradition, who was born in Goa, India, and who today, throughout India, he's opened clinics and refuges for people experiencing HIV/AIDS or addictions, and he uses BKS's method of Iyengar Yoga. So Father Joe used to come to Vancouver Island. I think 17 years he came. And in one of his workshops, he said, in India, we can't afford heart surgery, so we do yoga. And Dory Miller has reminded me, we can't afford it here either. So we need to take care of heart health. And here's how we might begin to do that. See the props that you're going to need, yogis? You'll need a bolster or some kind of bolster facsimile. I'm going to work with the 4 foam blocks and a blanket and my trusty chair. I want to remind you as well, because we'll be coming back into the studio May 25th, that you might want to get some hand sanitizer, because it's one of the yoga props that you'll need the minute you step inside the door. So I'm just set this out to remind us, right, hand sanitizers, there's a new prop. We're going to take Adho Mukha Virasana, and to do this posture, we're going to take our bolster and place it just in front of us horizontally. We might need the blanket as well. If it's the case that the groins are tight and the buttocks muscles are a little bit stiff, sitting on the heels becomes a challenge. Not that you can't overcome it with practice, you will. But if it happens that when you come forward to stretch the arms over the bolster, thumbs in the groins, chest up and forward, spine coming between the legs, arms stretching. I've got my elbow joints on the bolster. You see how the palms are facing inward and the brow is resting on the bolster. All that is taking us into Adho Mukha Virasana. But if this happens, if the sits bones spring up off the heels as you stretch the chest forward, that won't do. So you could take your blanket and fold it or roll it, depending on how much space there is between the sits bones and the heels. If it's a big space, it's a big roll. If it's a smaller space, it's a smaller roll. Here's how it works. Blanket comes on heels, sits bones come on blanket, and elbows to the bolster, brow to the bolster. So I'm showing you how to modify this posture for the groins, hips, tensions in the body to help relieve them. I don't need that support today. So I want you to see the front of the posture has the thighs separated such that the abdomen rests between the thighs, not pressing on the thighs. The movement of the sits bones is out behind us, groin soften from inside to outside, chest lifts to come forward, lifts up and forward, face looks down, elbows on, brow supported, like that. And stay. Stay while you draw the abdomen into the body. Stay while you spread the back of the rib cage, the back of the heart muscle broadening, the front of the heart muscle broadening, the arms reaching away from the body and lifting the elbows up and forward, lengthen the arms from the sides of the rib cage so that the rib cage itself is extending, is lengthening, is making more space for the heart. You can stay here for 2 or 3 minutes. Then palms to the bolster, inhale, press down, bring the chest up, and release this posture. We've worked on the posture of Virasana. In fact, in the previous sequence, the one that we were working on forward bendings, Virasana. But this time, we're going to take Virasana toward Supta Virasana, or reclining Virasana, little by little. We're going to need all these props. My first effort has me choosing, and I'll just turn my back to you briefly, choosing how much height do I need between the feet. I'm gripping with my inner feet in order to stretch the calf muscles back and sit between the feet. You can see that I'm not sitting on the heels. There's space between the inner feet and the sides of the hips. Any amount of support, take any amount of support that you need. But that's how the pelvis is situated. The top edge of the pelvis, and here you can feel the bony lip of the pelvic bowl. The top edge of the pelvis is pressing down to the sits bones. And the bottom edge of the rib cage is lifting up, away from the top of the pelvis. So this space is created, this space between the pelvis and the rib cage. It's a space that's flexible because it's free of the bone body. So the soft tissue can move much more flexibly here. We're going to take this support now toward the wall. So coming up, right foot forward, left foot forward, hands to the hips, come up. And now I'm going to take my foam block and my bolster. But the bolster is leaning away from the wall, like this. Now, if I press too much support on the bolster, you can see how it'll fall back toward the wall, and it won't support me. So I'm going to take my other foam blocks and place them behind my bolster, like this. See how they come in sideways, like that, so that they'll support my bolster, even though it's leaning against the wall, like that. Then, my foam block. Again, just as I showed you by turning my back to you, it's gripped between the feet. The knees are joined. I'm reaching with the thumbs behind the knees, pulling the calf muscles back so the knee joints are free, turning the thighs from inside to outside, so knees are coming forward, and then fingertips to the floor. The fingertips to the floor lift the spine. Now I have to take this top of the buttock under me toward the back of the knees. Top of the buttock to the back of the knees. And I begin to feel, as I lean back, there's the bolster. Now I'm starting to come back. I'm starting to come into Supta Virasana. Here, this gives a tremendous release to the quadriceps muscles. These muscles lengthening and stretching. As well, the spine is beginning to recline away from the legs. The abdomen is stretching deep inside. My hands come to the feet. The heel of the hands on the toe mounds and the mounds of the fingers on the heels. And as I push with the hands, I can take the tailbone further away and increase the stretch on the quads and take more of the spine to the bolster. I'm starting to lean back into Supta Virasana. To come up, I press down into the feet, lift the chest, and the head follows. Now I'll explore, can I take a little more release into Supta Virasana? I'm going to use the chair. in using the chair, we make something that always reminds me of what a space capsule must have been like for the early astronauts. The chair is turned onto its back like this. All we have to remember with this is that the top bar of the chair is on the floor at the base of the wall, and the chair legs are pointing in this way, in this direction. Then I get my bolster, and I place it like that. This angle of the bolster is slightly less than it was at the wall. So this is a step a little bit further forward. But again, if I bring too much body weight to the bolster, it can drop back here or here. So I want to be sure that it's at an angle that the rungs of the chair support it. Then I take my foam block, or plural foam blocks, however many you need, doesn't matter, take what you need here. Grip the foam blocks with the inner edges of the feet. Pull the calf muscles back away from the knees. Rotate the femurs, that's your thigh bones, from inside to outside. See that the knees are facing forward. Lift the chest and come back over the bolster, like this. So in this position, I'm coming more and more to the classical posture of Supta Virasana. This is an open-hearted position. You can see that this area of the chest, where the heart is situated, is broadened and lifted, while the head rests back. In many yoga postures, the heart is ascendant or lifted, and the brain rests back. The heart guides us in yoga. To come up, again, we push down with the hands, lift the chest, the head follows. Now, some of you will be able to achieve something closer to the classical expression of Supta Virasana. Let's see what that could look like. I'm taking the bolster and the 4 foam blocks. The chair now is going away. My little space capsule is going to the side. And I take my foam blocks and layer them 2 deep, like that. On top of the foam blocks, I've got my bolster. And on top of the bolster and foam blocks, I might fold the blanket to receive the back of the head. This requires that you would have yet another support for the sits bones to sit in front of this setup, should you need that. So, it so happens that I don't need this support under the sits bones. Calves are stretched back, knees are joined, thighs are turned from inside to outside. Sitting between the feet, I hold my bolster and lift the chest. Not only lift the chest, but lift the femurs, your thigh bones. Lift them up so that when you come onto the bolster, you're coming down from above with the chest open. Then pull your blanket, tilt the skull, relax the femurs to the floor. Now that you're in the posture, spread the arms. This is coming close to the classical expression of Supta Virasana. There are many steps to get here. Don't feel you have to dash to the fullest expression, but integrate what you're doing, mind, body, breath, spirit, so that you're in a state of yoga while you're exploring Supta Virasana. It's a pose of limitless value. And it's a pose well worth bringing into your repertoire. So little by little, you move toward it. You'll find it a great, great benefit. Coming up as usual, 1 foot forward, then the other, hands to the hips, inhaling, coming up. Setting aside these props, I take Supta Baddha Konasana. Now, we've done it in peace practices many times. We've done it in yoga classes many times. The classical posture has a bolster thus, has a blanket thus, has our 4 foam blocks like this. And we take Supta Baddha Konasana first by sitting on the foam blocks, on the bolster, just to get our position, joining the soles of the feet, easing ourselves gently off the bolster onto the mat, and then stretching back. And again, I lift the chest. I lift the chest to come down onto the bolster with a chest that's wide, pull the